If you would like my quick thoughts, please follow this link to either my Facebook or my Instagram, where I break down my thoughts in under 3 minutes. I've heard critics call this the worst Star Wars movie ever. Y'all are tripping. The Mandalorian and Grogu. Now, as you can tell, I do not think this is the worst movie ever. Now, let's get this out the way immediately. It's not the best movie ever. There are degrees between those two extremes. I think we need to get back to that. So let's talk about it. If you have watched The Mandalorian, then you are familiar with this format. Mando gets a target because he's a bounty hunter. He's paid to do a job. He goes and does the job. There are unforeseen circumstances of said job, and the job evolves into something else. I do think The Mandalorian and Grogu was a serviceable 2 hours. Keyword serviceable. Pedro Pascal comes back as a Mandalorian, and he's giving it his usual performance. Now, I've always been a little weird about Pedro. I always thought his performance as the Mandalorian was somewhat a little stilted. There are times when I feel like he should really be feeling some raw emotion and doesn't really come across that way. Grogu is a bit inconsistent. Sometimes Grogu is entertaining, sometimes Grogu is annoying, and it kind of relies on the movie trying to figure out, is Grogu like an incompetent child, or is he some kind of semi-wise adolescent? Because there are times in this movie where he's demonstrating like survival instincts. The fact that he just had the ingenuity to do it. He's clearly highly intelligent, highly adaptable. And then there are other times where he's just, ooh, pretty button. And like he'll just press something, blow something up. It's a tale of two movies. By that I mean the first half of this movie, when Mando, they call him Mando, when Mando is going on his bounty jobs, like, hey, go find this person, go do this thing. It felt like really, really good Star Wars. Felt like excellent Star Wars. But it gets to a point where the fallout of what happens in the first half starts to take place in the second half. And that one's a lot more not as exciting. There's probably a film critic way to say this that I'm not hip to. But there's a difference between a second half of a movie that's happening as a consequence of the events of the first half, and a second half of a movie that's happening because it's the second episode following the events of the first half. And I don't really know how to express that, but this movie felt more like that second one, where this wasn't just the continuation of what you saw 10 minutes ago. There was clearly a point where the credits would have rolled from episode 1 and the story would start from episode 2, and we just go forward. And the second half is a lot more boring than the first half. It's not bad, it's boring. The second half also introduces the closest thing this movie has to your soldier villain. As fans of Unbreakable would know, there's the soldier villain who is like your physical threat to the hero, another bounty hunter who's coming after Mando for reasons. And this movie relies on your familiarity with other Star Wars projects, not even really Mandalorian projects. This bounty hunter, unless he was in Mandalorian, I just don't remember. It's been a while since I watched it, and I never watched season 3. But this bounty hunter that's coming after him is someone who made a few appearances in the Clone Wars. He never really gets a grounding in this movie. They never take time to tell you who this guy is, what he wants, why he's doing what he's doing. I mean, he's a bounty hunter, so I mean, presumably he's being paid. But Mando there are certain jobs he won't take. There's certain things he won't do. And there are certain things he will do, and he'll just chalk it up to the job. But you understand those dimensions of Mando. This guy, like, is he just all about the money? Does he not care? Does he have lines? Does he have lines? Like in general. Now, the climax of the second half, when things heat up, I think it's just as exciting as stuff that was going down I think that alien played by Steve Blum, I think his name is Bix. I think he's from Rebels. I didn't see Rebels, but I've seen his character design. Um, so that's another character where it's like he's just kind of here. Sigourney Weaver, she's a great actress. She's in this. She doesn't really do much, but she's in it. Um, I've seen people like really critical of how she's used in this movie. Like they say that she is some kind of like get out of jail free card, and I just don't see it that way. I would have liked to see her used a little more because she's a good actress, and I just like seeing her on the screen. She almost feels like they cast her in this movie because they can sell the trailer with a face like that. I do think Rada. I don't know who's voicing Rada. Um, he's a Hut. I don't know who's voicing him, but I don't know. I wasn't blown away by that performance. His story was a lot better than his performance. I'll say that. I was more invested in the character, in his struggles and what he wanted and what he didn't want. But then when he would talk, I'd be like, I'm not able to really connect with you emotionally. I understand why those are things that would turn a person off from a movie. I'm not trying to suggest that, oh, look past the subpar acting and look past the boring bottom half, and if you look past both of those, I would admit major things, then this is actually a work of genius. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I had a fun enough time that it didn't drag it all the way down to the depths for me. You can sidestep this. This is not making or breaking the Star Wars universe. If you just like going to the movies, I don't envision you having a terrible time with this. I don't see what a lot of these people who are angry about this movie see. But that's just my opinion. You know you. You know your relationship with Star Wars. So that's gonna be it. All right. See. Mild spoiler. There's a point in the movie. It's pretty early, so it's fine. Where Rada, the Hutt, gets into a fight with an enemy, and they're scrapping, and Rada can't figure out how to get through the guy's defense. So Rada, as a Hutt, as a large Hutt, just plops down on the dude and crushes him, right? And he gets up, and he is clean as a whistle. Pretty sure that body under you is a bloody mess right now.